This is Distance from Center. I'm Horton.
I'm Trent.
Hey, so Trent, did you see anything interesting on the internet this weekend?
So the Swiss Pro, the 8th annual Swiss Pro, exciting. It was, it was everything you hoped it would be. It just wasn't dull. There wasn't a dull moment. All, both qualifying rounds and the whole thing was just good water ski entertainment. I hope you all caught it.
You said something to me in the last couple of weeks about, what we were going to look for in this tournament, and you kind of asked the question, are we going to see that everybody really put in the effort over the winter? And I got to say, holy crap, those guys have been pounding on it this winter.
Yeah.
The technical quality of the skiing, I mean, we have seen bigger finals, right? Worlds last year. But for a May 1st tournament, it was astounding. The quality of skiing was just off the chart.
Really, really good. And it was that too. Like, you can just see, a few people stand out in, you can just see changes to their skiing compared to this time last year, certainly, or even compared to, middle of last season. So, this tournament is exciting for that reason. You can just sort of, everything's starting fresh, and you can just see, like, you can kind of start hedging your bets right now, as to who's going to do what for their main, for the bulk of the season.
All right. So, talking about prelims, a lot of the women skied good. Vanessa Veek was super solid, and
she was really good.
Allie Nicholson did what she did, but this was a Whitney Regina show. I mean, they just crushed at a whole level. And, they've both, interestingly, in the last year, 18 months, probably more like year, they've both sustained substantial injuries.
Yeah, I mean, Regina right now is a little like just a hair under a year post-op in having her ACL reconstructed. And then, Whitney, everyone remembers that crash, but I would probably, most people don't know just how injured she was. She had some significant damage to her eye, and significant concussion in that, I saw them a couple of weeks ago. Like, a big chunk of her winter was sort of spent assessing and working through, through this injury. And, it wasn't like concussion where, it's by the next day you're feeling good. I mean, there were certain concerning factors, memory loss, and just, it was a serious injury that she had to work through. So, anyway, walk us through the highlights. What stood out then?
Yeah, well, but again, those two crushed, right? That was that. To me, that's really it. Regina.
So the final was Regina, Whitney, Allie Nicholson, Vanessa Veek, and Chelsea Mills. So that kind of an interesting, an interesting. No real surprises. You take Manon. I'm not sure where Manon was. I actually thought she was skiing.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you take Jamie Bull out, who's in the middle of finals with her collegiate studies, and then it leaves a bit of a hole. And so it was cool to see two people that you don't often see. Vanessa right off of a Moomba win, and Chelsea, who carved out a bit of a path last year, winning in Europe. But Regina ran 39 all 3 rounds. So just fast forward to the finals.
Whitney goes out and runs 39, which, according to Matt on the webcast, was like one of the only 39 she's run.
Yeah, small handful apparently. Yeah,
and she was stoked.
Yes.
Came back and got one at 41. Last off the dock is Regina, waiting to go up next. Regina goes out and just destroys 39.
Yep.
Her 39 in the finals was effortless. Yep. And then came back, and I guess she had a bad gait. Or
it was interesting. Yeah, because like you said, Whitney's 39 was solid. Like it was there wasn't a moment in that pass where she was off of the line required to run it, and came back 1 of 41. Regina's, like you said, was the kind of perfect that I haven't seen her look in maybe going
ever.
Well, no, I've seen it, but it's probably going on more like 5 years ago, and what stood out for me, it was like she looks incredibly comfortable on her ski. You know what I mean? There was no excessive movements, nothing that you didn't expect to happen. And then like you were saying, for as easy as 39 look, she laid up at one ball at 41, and the comment she made was, I didn't like where I was on the gate. I was not going to blow the tail.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then the runoff, and Whitney goes out first, runs 2, and then just to keep it exciting.
Wait, hold on. Just so everybody's clear, in the runoff, it's a cold 39.
Yeah,
So they've been off the
I think
water
anyone
for
listening to this knows
10
that.
minutes, maybe,
or 3 minutes,
Well, okay,
but regardless, I mean,
Right.
she runs her 2 at 39. But what? And then I get as if like it couldn't get more exciting. Regina doesn't get that good of a start, and she gets so deep and inside out of 2 ball. There was just this moment where you're like, she might go down, and obviously she did, and she got the full 3, and like if you watch the webcast, like you were reminded 1,000 times, she's never lost that tournament. That's the 8th year this tournament has
Right.
been on, and she's never lost it.
She's a beast.
Yeah.
She's a beast. All right, so the men, I want to talk about prelims.
Hey, but in
for a
keeping with
minute.
that,
I mean, I know
in keeping with that
that's-
though,
No, yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. Yep.
Isn't that interesting though? So she won it last year, and she won it this year, and in the interim, she blew out her knee and had it reconstructed. If that doesn't speak to work ethic, holy moly!
Her work ethic and commitment. I mean, again, as you hear endlessly on the webcast, she owns and runs a pharmacy. I mean, it's not like she gets up in the morning, goes to the gym, and then sits at the pool and sips a drink, and then goes to the gym again, and then goes home. She's running 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's amazing. All right, just a couple of highlights for me in the men's prelims. Charlie Ross did not run 39, but that 5 at 39 for a 16-year-old. Is he 16? Is that right?
I mean, yeah, I would guess that's right. Yeah, very close.
It's just so impressive, and he
He's
just
skiing
set
really well.
the under 17 world record, I believe, at 3 at 41.
Yeah. And he did it, 2 weekends in a row. One there was some kind of,
Yeah.
some kind of driving error that whatever, who cares? He backed it up a couple days later and did it again. And like just watching him, he looks markedly better this year than he did last year, even in terms of just a few small things that stood out in his skiing to me. For me, the big one was Jacob Bagne, the young Swedish guy. He ran a 4 at 41 maybe a year ago, but he looked insanely good every single time he took to the water. In the prelims, he ran 3 at 41, was one of the top seeds going into the finals. And then his 39 he had going in the final, he actually fell around 6 ball, in the final. And at that point, he was good. There was a pretty good tailwind that popped up, and at that point, he would have been the first to have run 39. So, he went out and out-skied his seed. So, I mean, he did insanely well. And scores aside, I was shocked how much he's improved in 6 months.
Yeah, the 2 guys that didn't really make it to the end but really impressed me, like I think they're skiing better than I've seen in the past, is John Travers and Rob Hazelwood. I think both those guys, thinking about how I think they normally ski, I thought they both looked like they were really tuned in, looked really good. John Travers, I forget how old he is, but he's not a young pup anymore, and he's getting better, which is super impressive.
Yeah.
And of course, Hazelwood is quite young, and darn it, he's just balanced and centered on his ski, and the kid is so talented.
Yeah, they both were wildly impressive. Okay, final.
So hold on. There's like one more thing that I think is really fun in the prelims, and we'll talk about the officiating on this a little bit too. Is Dane goes out and has a great 1 at 41, and then ends up inside a 4 ball.
Yes.
And then there's a judge's review, and they take away his 2 ball. They say that he center punched it or went inside it. And then later in the day, they went and reviewed it again and decided that he went around 2 and went around 3. So this final score from that round was 3.
Yeah, there was a few cases of that.
Well, but as I'm telling this story, if it sounds like I'm saying it was a hot mess, I'm going to say it's the opposite. I think the review process and whatever was going on with the officiating of this tournament was unusually good.
I think the officiating was great. There was a lot of instances where buoys were just suddenly, I think Will had one. I know Joel had one. Obviously, Danes. I would think there was probably, I would say 4 or even 5 instances, because I know it happened with a few of the women too, where people kept skiing beyond. And I got a lot of texts and a lot of people asking. I'm with you. The judging was 100%. Judging was great. The review procedure is better. This is a case of. And I'm just going to use experience, and I'm going to be pretty confident in this, and I could be wrong, but it's just underinflated buoys. I don't think that. I think that because we're in this kind of. There's some new buoy companies, and it's really where we've gone in the last 10 years is a lot less air pressure in these buoys. So just from
so they're safer.
Yeah. So you're kind of this fine line though. You're safer, but buoys can be. Now you're kind of in this place where actually your binding can sink the ball, though, is a problem. You know what I mean? Because if you just look at Danes, just as a skier, the line he was on, I was confident that he was going to be outside that buoy. You know what I mean? I watch skiing all day, every day. And this has happened to me in a tournament myself, at short line, where I knew my line was good, but, when the judges showed me the review, it's like, yeah, that buoy disappeared. So, and again, it's kind of a fine line. You just think back to 10 years ago, and any skier listening to this can attest to this. If you were in a position, especially at 39 or 41, where you were going to strike the buoy, actually hit the buoy, you're going to explode, and perhaps your ankle was going to explode with it. So, I think. That's that. Anyway, I think that's the logical explanation. And I would say maybe even to the point where those buoys were underinflated, not undersized. Everything was legit, but maybe just not enough pressure to keep them above water. Because, again, I think there was a couple instances where bindings were sinking the buoys and not actually the ski. But I'm with you. The judging was awesome. Way to just make the diligence to make sure they had the call they were comfortable with, and have the confidence to take buoys away, even though it was not going to be the favor or the popular decision. So yes, great judging.
Yeah. And as a fan of Formula One, you watch the races and something happens, and you get the little message on top of the screen immediately says "incident under investigation." Yeah. And we kind of got that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's like,
it was awesome.
Hey, we're on to the next skier, but hey, somebody's checking the replay. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Leading into the finals, Fred gets 5 at 41. Asher gets a 3.5 at 41, which I think got backed up to a 1 at 41. So again, one of those weird deals. But so the guys are skiing really good heading into finals, and. Then the wind comes up just a little bit, and guys start thinking about stuff. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid tailwind, and it was going to be tailwind 39 for everybody. So, there was some surprises, where I think probably the first 4 guys didn't run 39, right? Maybe 5 guys even.
Right. Yeah, it was ugly.
Which was, it obviously was super challenging, but it was interesting. You could watch, I was thinking of De Gasperi and especially Hazelwood. I mean, they were just running these high, really fast lines for the first 2.5, 3 buoys, and then that that tailwind starts. Get further down the lake, the tailwinds is started pushing, and you could see people trying to create width. When they probably didn't need to, but it was obviously super challenging. The big surprise was Rob missing it, and then when De Gasperi misses at 39, especially with how great the start was, that the wind was jamming. So it was going to be this deal where, and everyone kept saying it, just survive this 39 because this 41 is going to feel really, really good, especially after you get past 2 ball and that wind isn't as stout.
Right. So Asher, we get to the top 3 guys. We get to Asher, and his 39 was It was a nail biter to me. I thought he was in trouble. Do you concur?
There was people that missed it that were earlier than he. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like just Will being Will. I would have been more shocked had he missed it, but yeah, it was a handful for sure.
And then he comes back and he gets a pretty solid one at 41, which is great for anybody. And then a freaking astounding 2 at 41. And he's in it, right? At this point, I don't know about you, but I'm screaming at the television.
Tony Lightfoot was
he's run
screaming.
41 in tournaments.
It was awesome.
We're all screaming at this point. And then it all kind of unravels around. He gets a little bit late, as I recall, he's got a big 4.
Yeah,
right?
but he had
a
really good 4. He was on a line into 5 ball that he was okay. He just skipped a step or two at apex at 5 ball and it would. But I mean, yes, you're right. He didn't have the start that say Freddie had nor Nate, right. But he had the new Will 2 ball. And if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, just go watch his 2 and go watch his 4. It's not what you're used to seeing Will's 2-4 look like. Every bit as impressive, but this one is highly functional and results in a tight rope at 3. Yes, he was in a spot to run it, and I know he would have been kicking himself, pleased with himself, but kicking himself because he had that pass ran. So he ends up with 4.5.
Right. And then Fred's 39 was certainly the best, except for maybe Smith, probably the best 39 of the round. For a tailwind, I thought it was astounding.
Yeah, perfect.
And then he comes back and, as Asher did, got a pretty good one, a crushingly bitchin' 2 ball, and gets around 3 and then just kind of pushed it too hard for a 3.5. And I don't know if you're watching Formula One this year, but never. As I was watching that, Fred and Will get this analogy, and so will Rossi. You call Rossi and ask him. I had this moment of Leclerc at Imola. He was fine. He was cruising it, took a little too much curb, and spun it into the wall. So Rossi will explain that to you later. But the long and short of it is Fred looked great.
Yeah,
41
really
apparently
did, man.
is really freaking hard.
Well, it's just like it's both of those guys. Like they, especially when you watch the replay, and I'm sure, they were both on a line that was more than enough to get through the pass. But it's just like that. Like 41's like that. You think for a moment, or you try and create a little extra. And it just you can get off that line really, really quickly because it is a fine line that you need to stay on. But yeah, I mean, so then that brings last year off the dock was Nate
Smith, right? And let's go back for a second to prelims because we kind of skipped over Nate. So Nate didn't run; he ran like 4.5 in the first round of prelims, and then 5 second round of prelims. And so Fred ran that 5, so they were essentially tied there going into the finals. But Nate being Nate, I frankly thought he was just going to run the table on him.
Yeah.
But he comes back and gets 5, so he wins by half a ball.
Yeah.
Which the fact it was a half a ball back to Asher and then a ball back to Fred. I love that.
It was a crazy
fantastic.
good final, and Nate's on form like we probably saw 4 years ago, where he was cruising that pass. 3 to 4 kind of surprised me because for where he was, I wasn't expecting him to do that extra little work at the second wake headed to 4 ball, but you kind of get in this place where he doesn't need to run it. He just needs to know he's got space at 4 ball to get any kind of a decent turn. So I think when he got off of 3, I'm guessing maybe it was more of a 5 was in his mind, or it was just a lapse of judgment. But I mean, he looked crazy good. But all 3 of those guys, I mean, it was and that's why people love this tournament. That's why I love this tournament, because it's kind of like it is very indicative of how the first part of the season is going to shape up, right? I mean, they just all those 3 guys look just insanely good with, and like you had said, with a large contingent of people that maybe didn't ski lights out, but you know they skied incredibly well.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you look through the list. There's a bunch of guys you can't disregard, like DeGasperi and Meckler and
Hazelwood,
John Traver and Hazelwood. But then those three guys up top, I mean, they were in a league of their own. That was just fantastic. I was completely stoked.
Yeah, well done,
and,
Waterski Pro Tour and broadcasting company. I mean, we just have something, and and anyone watching this is obviously a ski fan, so could not thank them both enough. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a fun season to watch.
Absolutely, 100%. Anything else catch your eye? Stadelbauer's Pea Soup Green Ski, Steve Island's 5.5 39.
Cool.
Anything else make you yell at the TV?
Nope, those are the ones that stood out for me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we've got, I don't think we're going to do shows on it, but the next couple of tournaments, I believe, are Masters qualifying at 3 LCQs.
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
right?
And they're not LCQs, they're Qs, right?
Right, yeah.
Only, like, it's just, it's old verbiage that I guess doesn't really apply anymore. So there's 3 tournaments. They're all Masters qualifiers. I guess the third one, you could call it the last chance qualifier. So it's the same format as last year, top 3 from the first tournament, top 3 from the second tournament, top 2 from the final tournament. Is it Drews, Travers, and Picos? But I believe it's the same as last year that Picos is first. I think Picos first, and then Drew Ross is Hancock, and then on to Travers Ski School. And we'll awesome. Definitely we'll cover some of it, because I mean it's going to be it's kind of that whole thing where it doesn't feel right yet that this is how you qualify for Masters, but it's just kind of it's a new paradigm, and it's what they're doing, and you can't argue that it is kind of exciting. I just think it's terrible
it is,
that that all these pro skiers are forced to go to these tournaments. They're not pro event. They're forced to go to just ratings tournaments to get into the most prestigious event of the year. But it doesn't matter. It's going to be super exciting.